Morning guys and girls, hope you're all doing well. And as you can see, those of you who are keen-eyed, I'm not in my work clothes, and basically with that busy this time of year that even the day off is a work day. But I've got a really cool car standing in front of me. You don't see them very often at all, they are rare. I don't know how many are left on the road, but it's got to be less than 100 in the UK for sure. And if those of you who watched my last video, you would have seen how much fun and games I had with the roll cage. And surprise, surprise, we got a roll cage in this as well. But it is a different job. Really nice Uno Turbo here. Let me turn it around so you can see what I'm looking at. So, very good condition. Those of you around North London, you may even recognise this one, to be very honest. It's been around a while. If not, you probably definitely recognise the owner. But those who know. But yeah, as you can see, we've got a roll cage in it. It is lovely. I'll take you inside. I have taken a few bits apart, and that's the wiring, how it came to me. So please don't judge me for that side of it. But really nice old school car. In good condition, to be honest, looking around, I'll give you a walk around. It's got everything that you'd want it to be honest. It is old, it's a J-Reg, so it's no spring chicken by any means. It's got the pop windows at the back, which is always nice to see. And obviously the thing about the Turbo is you get the flared arches. I will show you under the bonnet as well so you can see. And obviously almost like the dimmer effect. I'm not sure if that's to be honest, I'm not a connoisseur on the old Fiat stuff, but tell me if that's factory style or if that's sort of like a dimmer replica. But either way, looks really good. So, lovely little boxy turbo car. Let me show you a bit more of it as we walk around, because the last time I walked around, you know, you see the full thing, because I'm rubbish on my camera view angles. But yeah, I'll show you up under the bonnet as well. How cool does that look? Just so nice to see. No silly plastic engine covers and everything else. You can see the bits that you want to see. Like, there's a turbo there, and if you want to look at the turbo, there it is. Modern cars are all hidden away. So, really nice. You can see, obviously, I presume it was white originally. I don't know why you'd go through the trouble of doing the engine bay bit different, but looking the part. I think he did show me some pictures, actually. It did used to be white, thinking about it. So, but no, really nice. It says it runs really good. I have had a little drive of it. It's got the typical really soft brake pedal, which is always nice to see on this. It's sort of like, have I got brakes? Have I got brakes? Yes, I finally got some brakes. I guess if you're good enough to drive a car like this quickly, then the brakes are the last thing you have to worry about. These are little pocket rockets. But no, very nice. It's got the little Italian flag, where it's run the green onto the white, onto the red there, which comes out nice. Little details you spot like that. It's little bits that sort of interest me in cars. All good. We've got Samco's. Got all the silicone ductwork, everything else. So little brace, which obviously is going to be a big pain for me when we get to that part of it for the audio. But yeah, let me take you to the door card and I'll show you what I'm going to be doing. Right, so the owner of this car is a guy called Mike. We'll call him Mike Lowry. And basically, he's a friend of Chris, who owns the Fiat Bath, which you may have seen in my last video. If you haven't seen that video, definitely worth a look. It's got some Alpine status gear in it. Very cool. But strangely, Alpine wouldn't be generous, should we say, with the fact that he's invested a lot of money into it and so. But that's a different story. That's politics for you. But this one's different. So Pioneer have very kindly, I've only got one box there, it doesn't look very good to be honest. They've very kindly given him a load of the D-Range series, which is, at the moment, I think their top stuff, barring, I guess there's some special stuff you can get, but no, this is classed as their sort of good stuff. So it's going on to Max Power Live, sorry, not Max Power Live, Max Power Reunion, which I think is the 14th of July. We're currently the 1st of July, so a couple of weeks' time, and it will be there if you do actually want to go and see it and things. But Pioneer have basically given him all this equipment and said, go and have it fitted up, for instance, for the show. Now, it would be very simple, as you can see, we've got some Alpine Type E's in there. Very simple, just to go speaker, tweeter, build a little pod or something, nice, job done. But that's not Max Power-y. Max Power is sort of adding your own touch to the vehicle that you've got and should be enhancing it. So what's better than one pair of speakers on the door? It would be 2 pairs of speakers on the doors. So that's what we're going to go for. We're doing a double build. We're going to put an amplifier in. I think I'm going to be prepping some wire for some stuff going at the back there. He has got some subwoofers and other bits and pieces. Originally there was designed to go for sort of like a large enclosure, but for the moment he's just going to get this bit sorted so that when he goes to the show, it's sort of, you can see that it's had some work done to it apart from the gorgeous exterior, everything else. To be honest, having a sound system in the car is nice, unless you are going to go to those extreme levels and you have as many subs as you can get in things, you'll get drowned out by other cars. But then there's 2 worlds. You've got SQ and SPL. Most people get attracted to SPL because they can hear it from a distance. It's like, oh, what car's making that bass? Boom, 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 giving it all that. Or you get SQ, which is the sort of more finesse, the more polished sound of car audio. Personally, the one I prefer, SQ. SPL is just as much energy, as much power, as much vibration as possible, which is good, but I do prefer personally to do more SQ builds. It's just what I've always liked. I like hearing really good detail in songs. So, but obviously those E's aren't going to do anything for him if he's playing it out. It's going to be a little bit embarrassing in all honesty. They're sort of like a normal factory drop-in upgrade. They're nothing what I'd class as special. So these are going to sound much, much nicer. But my issue is, I'll show you when I shut the door, is this roll cage again. The customer spoke about taking this bar out. Now, I don't really want to. I quite like it, to be honest. If that was just open and it just had a normal sort of roll cage, yes, it still have a roll cage, but in a car like this, I'm going to want the side impact, whether it's for aesthetics or anything else. I want to know that this bit here isn't going to end up where I'm sitting, because these are tiny cars. So we're going to aim to do everything to keep that in place, which really limits us on the size that we've got. What I do is I've already stripped the other door just to see what's going on. There are a few things that I want to do and sort of get my mind about whether it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to shut the door, take you to the other side, and you'll see what I'm dealing with. So this is where the fun starts. So as you can see, that speaker's in there, but it's right up against this grille. I think, to be honest, these bolts were cut down. You can see that it's close to it, sort of marked it there and things. And we've got to try and get 2 speakers in that space. It's gonna be horrible, to be honest. I've been given pretty much free rein to do what I want in regards to the doors and things. I don't really want to change too much of this plastic trim. I'd love to try and get it so that it sort of blends into that, or at least it's sort of like a detachable piece from here to here, because that's how we're going to use to pin this up and things, and to keep that in factory location will be good. The other thing that I'm thinking is possible, but I've just had a look on the other side and it's going to be a lot of work. So door handle release obviously up there. Now that's a good bit of real estate up the top there to be able to do something, whether tweeters or whatever. If not, it's going to have to sort of terminate there. And you can't really have it sort of bulging out here and then it can't get to the handles. There's got to be sort of like a free passage through to that section of it. So if we go onto this door card, which I've already stripped down to check this exact thing, I'd seen some imagery where the door handle was further back. I don't know what that would be for, to be honest, but it looks like the exact same cutout shape. So the bit behind here that this goes into technically could go here. But the problem is, you can see from the levels of it, so this has an overhang piece that comes up past where the top bit of the mounting is. So this bit here is going to end up halfway in this. Now, if I cut it, it then means having to finish it and everything else. And we haven't got a load of time, and there's not a ton of money to be done with this one. So it's not the case of, yep, just rebuild the whole door card. So it's mainly just doing some speaker pods. So I don't know whether moving that is going to be an option. It's all down to the size of things, really. So that's the grill, and obviously I've got to get 2 of these. So if we was to say get one of them as far as we can in there, does that give us enough space to pull the other one up here? Guys, really tight. Okay, we've got the angle there, but then that one's going to sit in front of it, so there's no point. We can't just build out either, because obviously there's a limit. That chair is right next to that, so we can't have an enclosure all the way out here because you can't sit in the vehicle. Let me do some head scratching and some measuring up and see what we can rock and roll with. This is really tight, guys. I still got to do measure up, but like even one, so say for instance, all right, ignore that bit, even one speaker sort of sitting in the middle there would fill out that space. And then the tweeter bit could be up here or down here. But just one alone at a nice angle on a pod. Let me zoom out the camera a bit so you can see a bit better. That on a pod would work, and it would give you almost complete coverage of this sort of area that we're playing with. So the only space I've got, like I say, you can't really have it just there because it's going to get in the way when the cage moves in and out. I don't want to just do it on a flat surface. Yeah, I could make it so easy for myself and just do that and just put one there and one there. But that's, I guess it works, but we're not doing that. I don't want to do that. I am going to have to bring the other one down here though. There's no way. So I'm thinking something in that sort of region. I'm not even thinking about the tweeters at the moment, but that sort of region, as long as the main cone is above the door pocket. All right, let me mark out some stuff and we'll go to the workbench and we'll figure it out. But you can probably tell by my voice that this is not impossible, but this is going to be tight tolerance. Stupid roll cage. Look how much space I've got without it. That'd be so easy to do. But, oh well, it's not like that, is it, Neil? Yeah, I think it's just about doable. So that line there represents roughly where we meet this. And I think one up there, like traditionally if we're doing a single pod mount with a nice kick piece on it, that can line up roughly somewhere with that black edge, because obviously that's there, and it can probably go down there somewhere. It gives us a bit of freedom up the tops through the tweeters. And then the second one, so that will be on sort of a nice kick out piece there. The second one kind of has to go on a much shallower kick down in here. And the only reason it goes shallow is obviously the distance between there and there. But we've got the depth of this to play with, so we can go back in a little bit further if we want on that kick piece. Yeah, there's a few ways forwards with it, but I think it's going to work. Obviously, because we're kicking this out higher on this one, doesn't mean we have to worry too much about the magnet depth going through on this. This one is going to be a little bit more fun, but if we look down there on that side, let me just zoom you into the bit I'm looking at. There's that big cutout, so hopefully the magnet can sit in, where's my finger, that sort of area there and not get in the way of anything. And then obviously the other one will be up around there. So I think that's got the plan. The idea of moving those back to there, because you can see with that overlap, we're not going to entertain that because I want to keep that black plastic trim the exact same as it is. And yeah, I think, oh, let me zoom back out because you don't want to see that. I think we're kind of there on the rough sort of marking out from it. If only it was going to be so easy to build it, but it shouldn't be awful. We shall see. You'll follow the journey. Right, now that we've roughly sussed out what we're going to do over on the actual door builds themselves, the last piece I just want to run through the customer is the colour palette. So obviously you had that cream bit before and that's going to be changed. We're going to update it. I think this, it feels good. I like it. It's very thick, it's very spongy. I used it on a Lexus a little while back, so I was really impressed with how durable it is for starters, which is great. It does seem to resist sort of rubbing against it and things. And the fact that it's cushioned means it will come out really nice and there. So when that's all pinned in, I think that will look really good. So yeah, colour palette wise, I think that's good. We are going to have to pull it into here somewhere. So if not, it's just going to be random on the doors. So we've got to figure out some stuff for that. And obviously it will stretch the way down. And then the actual pod itself will be a darker, probably black, to be honest, the way that sort of feels. Everything's black on here. So we might as well pull that through and it will be sort of bordered. So similar to how this is like black line bordered, then obviously that section will be the same there. That may sound like proper gobbledygook, but I know what I'm doing. Right, so just going to make some new ones of these, the other ones down there, just so I've got sort of a fresh basis to work on. I'm probably going to swap over this weather strip as well, and obviously we're re-trimming all this anyway, so I don't have to worry about the cream stuff. So yeah, I'll get those cut out and then we'll get them nice and snug up onto the door. So nothing really too offensive behind this door to deal with. There's quite a few cables that are just sort of hanging, so I'm probably going to address that while I'm in here. And no, the rest of it looks all right. I have to figure a few things out, but yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. Right, so we've got a nice blank canvas to work from now, and managed to get it neater around, obviously, the bits that matter, like the handle and things. So that should be good. Just got to finish off that side, but basically you can see how it's going to go in. Made the sort of the initial cuts on that, get that screwed in, and then once I get the black trim back on, it will come across like that. Very happy with it. Right, we got to the stage where the real headache begins. So obviously, as you can see, that's a speaker, and that little gap around there is just a little bit bigger to allow some trim through. And these are basically just a speaker with 2 rings to one to mount it on. And you can see we've only got about a 2 centimetre gap either side, so not much bigger than the actual speaker itself. I'll take you into the car and see why it's going to be so much fun and games. Right, that's the space that we're working with, and we know that we've got to leave out some gaps essentially. Obviously, this is going to swing through the cage as the door opens. And obviously, when we're holding up a grill, it doesn't look too bad. But that grill has obviously got to be supported. Hence the reason of putting the speaker inside a bit. Now, I can make this thinner, but we are only 2 centimetres, so it's not exactly massive. But even now, with that bit there, that's taken up for it to clear the bottom of that. We're already too high up on there. So it is crazy tight trying to get 2 speakers into this. The other one obviously is going to have to sit down the bottom there. Yeah, it's real fun and games. I've got a right headache going on trying to figure out how we can even make space for this. Plus, obviously, we've got to get a tweeter on here as well. So in an ideal world, I'd have it lower to have the tweeter up the top there. But no, it is tight as. So let me do some thinking about this. Right, after a lot of head scratching and a few chats with the customer, as much as one would work very well, it's not very max power. So we are going to drop the other one down here. I'm going to have to cut this panel out here, or the pocket, or don't know if I'm going to take it all the way down. I'd like to get away with that line there and keep that contour, but it literally is a case of how much we can get on that. We got no depth regards to, there's the chair, there's the bar. So the tightness of it is crazy. As much as we'd like to get some really big kick angles, if I shut the door and put my feet in sort of like a comfortable driving position, you can see we're already close to that. So with that shut, if we're to go for like a monster kick, then my legs hitting that as soon as I just move to do the accelerator. So we're gonna have to be realistic on how much kick we can get. There's also the scenario that if I bring it out too far over the bar, the door, when it swings in and out, it's somehow got to get from over the bar to inside the bar. So obviously that's an impossible thing. So it is going to have to stay above the level of the bar. I'm going to imagine something like that, which gives us a pretty good kick. It's not awful, my hand's in the way, but it gives us, from top down, a nice sort of kick on there. This lower one, obviously we won't get as much kick on it, but I still will be able to get a kick. But the kick isn't important as getting the speakers in. So right now I'm just going to mark out a template of the bit that I can use once it goes through the bar here. And we'll have that template then, and then I can start basically building the pod up, hopefully, and then figure out where the tweeter is going to go. This is going to go all the way up to the top here. So the tweeter doesn't really work there because you've got to be able to get your hand in, and then like I said, I don't want to block that path through to the handle. So I'm estimating the tweeter may even go down here in between the 2 speakers, which could look kind of cool. So we shall see. But basically, it's far, far too small a space to be putting 2 speakers onto the door. But we'll see what we can do with it. Right, that's roughly the usable space of the pod. I do want to keep these 2 separate. So it's fairly big, but it's nowhere near big enough. But I quite like the idea of having it so that it is separate. The customer did suggest cutting into this and things, but to be honest, all that's going to achieve there is the speaker can go up, which we can get rid of that bit down there, and we still can't get any more kick on it on the basis that bar's in the way. So why butcher a nice old panel? Okay, it's already been cut down the bottom there, but the bit that's up here, when these lines here, so I really like this contour here that matches with that contour down there. So we're keeping that bit as it is. The rest of it, yeah, it's getting there, but it's not an easy one. All right, the next puzzle to overcome is obviously the cloth that's going to make up the fiberglass part of the pod is going to start on this front edge where my finger is. And I can't just drop it straight down to the bottom where the pod's going to be, because then the bar's going to be in the way. I don't want to fiberglass it while it's in here because it will touch the roll cage and it will be too close to it. So I'm going to have to sort of have a level which the front part of the pod stops and then it drops down for the other bit. So Mike, I hope you appreciate this because this is just silly. Like, I've done a lot of builds in my time, but this one is just not enough real estate to do what we want to do. But we'll go for it. It will happen. Kick wise, let's say that's pretty much where we're going to be with it, and I'd be happy with that. All right, more moaning. I think that's what you're going to get from this video. But basically, the other thing I've noticed is that these bars, the left and the right one, are not the same height. So if we come here and you have a look at the gap and it clears the bar, I don't know, by say like a fat finger width. So that clears that bar fat finger width that side. We come around to this side and same again there. It clears the bar by, I don't know if you can see from there, but clears the bar by fat finger width. Now if we look at the top, that overhangs that handle quite a bit. Whereas that one doesn't. So let alone with it all being a bit fun and games, even looking at it, the length of that bar running up there does look taller than that bit running up there. So more fun and games. It means it will be asymmetrical, but essentially be in, and obviously with the doors open, you do get a nice kick out on there, and it is firing out to the crowd, as they say. So that's the position of our top rings. Right, let's get the bottom ones in. I think I'm gonna have to cut the pocket next so I can sort of start working down the bottom there. So I'll just nip that bit out along that edge. Once we get that bit in, we get 2 rings, then we can cloth wrap it and then get somewhere with it. Right, so cut the pocket out and we've got our rings in position. Obviously, yeah, flatter angle there, but as you can see, we've still got a kick on it, comes out the bottom, and obviously this bit here. And I'll show you when we shut the door, I'm gonna get in and shut the door, how close this is here. This is where the bar sits right across this section here, which is why we can't really do anything more with that bit. So let me jump in and I'll show you the clearances. Right, I hope you can see that down there, but I have got to leave a gap so it doesn't actually bang against this. So I think I've done good to be able to get them both in there. That one's still like that, so I basically just got to air saw along that bottom edge, take that up, get the other ring in, and we're slowly moving forwards with it. And I'll show you what that green bit is once I've got these doors sorted. Right, may not look like it, but I've got to a good stage. So now this can finally come off. I can start reinforcing it because obviously it's just held in with a bit of mitre glue. Reinforcing that, then I can stretch cloth over it, fiberglass it up, and then we got a solid piece. That's a little tweeter mount position there. So no, I think it's going to work out lovely. Right, I know it looks messy, but it will look great soon. As you can see, we've just got all these sort of bits of wood that are just propping everything up just to give it a bit of structure, because the stretch mat, when I pull that down over it, I'm going to pull it tight. So I need these not to move around. So we're just going to let that cure over. But basically, fiberglassed it all in. So now that essentially is nice and solid. I did the trim, as you can see, we've got a different shape now on the outside. So, and obviously once that's set, I'll give it another 20 minutes or so. Then I'm going to start putting a stretch cloth over it, and then you'll see sort of the final form of how it's going to be. All right, sorry about the noise, got the compressor running, but you can see now, let me take you up and around this. Obviously this is just a stretch cloth. This isn't actually how it's gonna be. So basically I'm gonna soak this in resin, which is gonna make this super hard. Then you've got to sand it all down. But no, I think we've achieved what we need. what else do I want to check on it? I'm kind of confident in the tolerances. I'm going to fiberglass it and then see how close we get to that bar. I can always cut out if need be, but I think I've done my job all right, so we shall see. But no, I think that, let me zoom the camera out a bit. I think that looks very cool. Right, I'm going to get the other one stretched over and then cover it in resin and see if I've managed to achieve what I want. If not, we're in a whole world of pain. Right, about to get ready with the messy bit. I really like the way they've come out. I think looking at them, they're very symmetrical. Even though the doors aren't symmetrical, there's slight differences. I can see that one's slightly lower than that one, which makes sense because that bit's slightly higher in that side. So it's all worked out good. So the next stage obviously is just to plaster them with a load of fiberglass resin and basically let that soak in and set. One thing to do, I've been doing this years now, so I know these sort of things happen. If I was to just resin it as it is, then this will start to curl. This bit shrinks and it will flex in. So if you are doing this yourself, definitely mount it onto a piece of wood and also put a little gap in there. So I have some little filler pieces so that you don't end up sticking it to the bit of wood that you're working on. Yeah, because I've done that a few times before. So, right, I'm going to cover them with resin and then we'll let them go off and then afterwards they should be nice and solid. Right, that's nice and messy as you can see. And basically just go over everything, make sure you've got all the little corners covered and whatnot. So, right, we'll let that set and come back and see how hard it is. Right, there we go. Nice and solid. So, happy with all that. Now the fun bit starts where you have to sand them so that I get rid of all this sort of rough edge and then just go over with a bit of body filler, just give it a nice smooth contour so that when putting the cloth on it, it doesn't show any sort of imperfections and things. So, yeah, let me get on with some sanding. Right, after a lot of sanding, we got something that at least is decently smooth enough to trim over. You can see all good there. I'm still going to put some primer on it just so it can show, because it's so hard to see with all the different colours whether there are any holes or anything. So I'm going to spray it over with some primer and that will highlight it out a bit more and then I'll be able to see the contour a bit better as well. So let's get that sprayed up. Right, so back in the door now, and I've obviously just loomed up some of those cables that I saw that were just lying around loose. There is already some sound deadening in this, and to be honest, in a car like this, it's not going to make a huge difference. It's very thin metal, but we've already got some in there. But what I'm thinking is, because this whole panel here, as you can hear, is quite vibratey, I'm going to use like a foam pad to sort of cover over this, and that will help moisture stay out and things. And obviously it's just a case of then that will give an absorption across the whole lot of it. I could just cut individual sound deadening parts around all these bits, but it's going to be so much easier just to put a large sheet on, leave these bits filled. Obviously there's a pocket bit, so I'll have to sort of cut that one out there, but the bulk of them I can leave filled in, and that will help with a little bit of deadening that way around. So I'll get that on the door and you'll see that in a sec. There we go, that should help out a bit with it. So a bit easier than cutting it all individually, just one nice piece on. Obviously still have to do all the little cutouts for all the little mounting points, but yeah, she's all good. Now it feels like we're getting somewhere. Always good to get a bit of trim work on. And yeah, no, I'm really happy it comes out and it's nice and soft, padding. Obviously we've got the sound deadening piece in between, so that should help out with everything there. So even around the handle, just fits up so much nicer now. Can't wait to see the pods on it. Right, now that we've got some fabric on the door cards, I'm basically just going to trim the pods. That's the last piece of that. I'm not putting the pods in yet because of the roll cage, and I've got to sort out all this wiring and stuff. I don't want the pods sticking out and I end up whacking them or knocking them or moving them, because I'm going to be leaning over this bit a lot. So we're going to hold fire on getting the door pods on for the moment. But I might as well move and talk about this green bit. Now, it won't be green. It's literally just the PETG that I had to basically print it out, but it is just a 3D printed piece that's designed to sit on top of that. There was like a little cover piece with the ashtray. I think that's in my car at the moment because I took it home to take the modelling off of it. But basically that is going to drop down in there, and that is going to give us our screen position. Obviously it will be trimmed up, so it won't be green. The screen fits lovely in there, so I'm all happy with that. The weird shapes are basically to allow the cable to drop down and go back through the original cigarette lighter bit. The gap there is so I can get to the screws, which you may be able to see at the bottom there. So I'm going to put little brackets on that to sort of pin that down. And then obviously we'll have something going up on here, and there's this bit over here which can mount up on the little tab there, for instance. So that should be nice and good. Obviously it is a touch screen, so it's going to be poked and prodded and things, so it has got to be nice and secure. You don't want to be pressing it and it does this. So I'm just going to build a nice little bit just to fill this out and sort of get that bit all nice and solid, and we'll get the screen in. So that's that green bit now with the screen in it, and you can see fits in lovely, nice and flush, almost as if it was designed for it. And obviously then the cable bit is in there at the moment. That's going to come down that side. So all I've got to do is basically get that mounted inside there, and obviously then get that bit onto the car, and the screen's kind of done. Obviously I've got to trim it, and there is just a little gap that goes all the way around the edge just to basically get the cloth to overlap it. So it is like I know what I'm doing sometimes. Right, quite a simple mounting solution. Had to do a tiny little adjustment, so bad me for my CAD design on that. But basically, we've got the two screws that line up back there, and then that one will line up there. That's going to give that 3 points, one at the front, two at the back. And obviously then I'm just going to build a little panel piece that's going to sit in here to fill this gap out. And that should be nice and solid. It already feels pretty good without even being screwed in, just rocking it backwards and forwards. It sort of sits in there lovely, so very happy with the way that comes out. And what else to say up here? I thought I'd show you these as well. The tweeter, so basically behind here we've got just an air vent, and the tweeter itself, if you look at the height of the tweeter, is about the same depth, sorry, about the same width as that. So I've made these a little bit oversized. Now I think they'll look much better once they're trimmed, but at the moment they look a little bit standy out. But then that sort of shape also matches what's happening up here. Basically, that's going to be trimmed out in the black. Now, the reason I've given this sort of design is I wanted to pull some of the trim colour here up into the backing part of this bit, so we'd have the same sort of colour theme running across. And I've got a little piece going in down here, which you'll see when that's done. That's off with the CNC place getting made up at the moment. So yeah, so we're going to have a set of tweeters there, which are obviously going to correspond to the speakers on that. And then that tweeter there is going to correspond to the speaker on that. So imagery in here should be really nice, because we've got tweeters coming from the side and tweeters coming from the front. So very happy with that. Right, let's get this bit. I'm just going to epoxy down those metal bits. Obviously they are just going into the plastic, and there's no way, I didn't put thread holes or anything because I didn't know the exact position of it. So I'm going to epoxy that all together so that metal is actually bonded to the plastic, gives it a lot more strength. And then we can get that sort of in position, ready to rock and roll. Right, I've been cracking on with doing some of the boring stuff, which is like wiring, dropping tweeter bits in, getting this all nice and secure, I think you saw in the last bit. But we've now got to a stage where we have the screen up and running. So I'm really happy about that. Obviously I've got a nice little panel piece as well to cover over that so you don't see that. But no, really happy everything's running. Got the DAB antenna up there, microphone's hidden up over there. So yeah, that's a big part of it done. All the amp wiring as well is already down underneath the chair down there. So I've just got to connect up the amplifier. Obviously the speakers aren't on the doors yet, but as you can see, the way I'm sitting now, don't want to be kicking everything. So they're going to be like the last piece of the puzzle to go in. So next bits are, another thing as well, which is kind of silly, but I guess it's good that I've done it. So up on the top here was the cigarette lighter as well, underneath the little cover. And obviously he's still gonna need a cigarette lighter. So I've relocated that down the bottom. And as you can see, it still runs with the light circuit. So I think Mike will be happy about that, because he does still get to keep his cigarette lighter. Which I've not tested it, but I'm sure it'll work. Let me just plug this in. Yeah, so we got power there. So that's all good. So that's another big piece of the puzzle done. Obviously I've still got to make this little bit just to go in here. That's going to be like a cover piece just to cover over that, because obviously we need to be able to get to those screws, because I didn't want to see any visible mounting on this side of it. And obviously then just put the screw in that bottom one there, which is going to stop it sort of tilting. But even now it is solid as, to be honest, so liking that. Started work on that monstrosity of wiring that you saw down here. Ignore all this stuff, because that's my stuff, that's all going to be hidden. But all of those cables that were hanging down under there, slowly been going through them, trying to move them out of the way and things. That has been an absolute pig. So, but everything works, which is good. We've got the stereo. It should react to the key. So I'll take the key out, it should power down, and then key on. I tried to find an accessory wire on the dashboard to basically make it so that the key could come on without the ignition on, but I don't think this car has accessory. Up in here I couldn't find anything that went accessory live, so I'm not going to stress about that. And obviously we've got everything we need for the radio. So DAB's working by looks of it, because that's centre force, yep. So running through, and this should bring up all of our stations. Obviously it isn't here. Just do a list update because that hasn't grabbed it. I'm inside the workshop, so that antenna may not be running great at the moment, but we shall see. That's something we can solve. So right, let me crack on with some more. I'll show you this bit. It's really nice. So that will be the next bit that I put in there, because I don't need to go back in here afterwards, I don't think. So I'll get that bit all in, and that looks really cool. Just had to turn on the DAB antenna power, and that made that work. So now, as you can see, we've got all of the DAB stations. So very nice. All good. That should take us back home, and then from there you can see what we get on this unit. So yeah, a little bit of everything, and obviously the CarPlay as well, which is great. So all good. Right, that's that little bit down there. Now it doesn't look right at the moment. It's actually gloss black behind all of this, so I think that'll work lovely. And very big thank you to Ali down at Night Studio for quickly firing this round for me. He's got some beautiful CNC machines and laser cutters and things. So that's sort of the cover plate that's going to go across there. And then through the windows that you're going to see in the Pioneer bit, I'm going to have the same colour trim that we have on the doors. So that will sort of pull that all through in little details and things. So that should be really nice and cover that bit out. Because to be honest, that doesn't look very nice. And I think that will just finish it off lovely. And it is a Pioneer car. It will be a max power, so it will be on their show stand, so they should probably have something in there with their logoing on it. So right, big thanks to Ali again for that, and you'll see it when it's all trimmed up and in position. Yeah, so it really finishes it off now. Got that little panel piece in the bottom there, so that covers it through. So not very happy with that. I think I'm going to try and find a grommet as well to sit in there. These ones have got covers, but if not, we're just going to have a hole in the centre and it doesn't do anything. So I think I'm going to try and find something to put in that gap. And yeah, on we move. Right, I thought I'd show you those now they're trimmed up. I wasn't sure about them, but now that they're like that, I like them. And I like the way they sit in there. So just brings that little bit of detail of the colour from the door card across, and obviously gives us a nice solid mount for the tweeter. So yeah, happy with that. And yeah, I don't have something wrong with Farmits paint, so, but not on this car, something different. Right, another piece of the puzzle done. So obviously the amp's going to go under the chair, but the customer did say that he didn't want me to mount it on the actual floor, which is fair enough. So I've just built up a little plinth for it that basically just stands up proud. There you go. So you can see, so obviously that's not actually sitting on the deck, and obviously that's going to be hidden down up. That's going to be hidden down, should we say, underneath that chair. So right, all the wiring's there, so then we just wire this through. We're getting there. I think the next bit back here is gonna be, we need to get the power cables through. He's relocated his battery to the boot, which is good. And essentially take those power cables up along that side to meet the amplifier. I'm gonna power up this Vibe box at the moment. I think there's gonna be like a stage 2 of this build. I don't know if I'm gonna get involved in it or not, but basically he is gonna go for a proper sub arrangement back here. But for the moment, we've got another set of coaxial speakers that I'm going to drop in left and right there, and I'm probably going to retrim those panels in the same as that, so it sort of pulls it all through a bit, which I think will look really nice in there. Really weirdly, the speakers don't come with grills, so I think they're just going to be open cone for the moment, which back there, nothing's going to hit them, but it's a shame that the Pioneer don't supply you grills for them. I imagine it's something you can get later down the line, just put the grills over the top. So the next bit, I guess, will be routing some power cables up down there. Right, that's those rear panels. Shouldn't be too bad. It's just basically plastic welds, just basically cut through those. And all I'm going to do is just retrim this panel, resize that hole for the new speaker, and that should be good as gold. Bit of sanding on the back of it to stiffen it up, and then remount it back in. Probably going to use some epoxy to basically reattach this front edge back on. My material that I'm using is thicker than this, so it's going to be a little bit of fun and games on that, but at least it will match through. So let me get this all stripped down and see what the condition of that chipboard is. Yeah, those are going to look much nicer now on the doors, or on the rear panel, should we say, not the doors. But yeah, looking at these, I do need to give them a bit of a scrub because they ain't in the best condition. So I'm going to clean them up, because if not, it's just silly. Why bother doing all this and then not clean that bit? So let me give them a scrub down. Right, there we go. That's the original panels back on. Basically epoxied, and then also added some hot glue. The epoxy will be the main part that sort of holds it together. But the hot glue is basically there just because of vibrations. Essentially, we've got a speaker bouncing backwards and forwards. Now, the epoxy does get hard, which is good, but I also want sort of like a doubled layer reinforcement just to make sure that vibrations don't cause any issues in the future as well. Whereas the hot glue is a little bit more susceptible to sort of dealing with that side of it. And then basically we're going to get a piece of sounding over the back of this that's going to sort of go around and fit in there. So that will sort of make that nice and acoustically solid. And then they can go back in the car. I've also noticed that there was no clips on here, so I'm going to be putting in new clips. So basically we have got something to lock it and hopefully clip it all back in. The holes look like they're in the doors already, in the panels, so that should be all good. It's just a case of then getting the speakers in there and then clipping them back in. Yeah, that'll do nicely. So a lot more dense, and obviously now all I've got to do is get the speakers in and throw them back in the car. It's always really satisfying when the thing that started off as some rubbish bit of fiberglass turns into something that actually looks finished off. So I still have a few bits there, get rid of the glue, just use some acetone essentially on it just to dissolve anything that I don't need on it, but really good. And that's how they look in the vehicle. Really, really happy with it. It just clears it. Obviously you saw the tolerances that I'm dealing with before, but the bar fits lovely through that gap there. This overhangs. We can still reach the handle nice and easy. We've got good tweeter locations, obviously a tweeter there, and the other one you saw was up there. So no, really good and happy with it. It's got a nice sort of, it is max power, it's sort of like max power posh, I guess. Original max power, you'd have them probably sprayed in like a really bright colour and things, but I really, really like it. I like the way, there is a part of me that thinks maybe that should have gone all the way to the edge, but I kind of like it because it does just pull that a little bit of colour down here that matches that shape there. But it's how I've built them, so that's how it's staying. I'm not going to take them all apart just to change that bit. To be honest, I don't know why I'm moaning. I like it. I like the way it looks. I'm just sort of doing running commentary, I guess, as we go along. So everything else ready to go. So I've just got to get that one you saw trimmed up on the door over on that side, and get the speakers mounted up into it. This side's all working and things. I could power it up, but I will do once I've got my own music on for copyright reasons. But yeah, no, really happy with the way that it all sits in. It's come out very nice. Obviously just got to give it a hoover and get any of the little dust specks off it and things. But no, very nice, and presents really nicely when you have the door open. So good job, Neil. Right, and I've just put in the final piece of the puzzle down there, which I think looks stunning. Really, really happy with it. So I'll just give you a glance over from that side. So obviously we've got the double door mount build. It does shut without the heating, thankfully I've checked. You've got the tweeter mount. You've got the beautiful big screen up on there. Really, I think that's the eye-catching part of the job. There's things like the DAB antenna up there, microphone up there. There's a USB cable down there, and obviously relocated the cigarette lighter down the bottom there. We've got the other tweeter bit there. We've got a replicating system over on that side for the sound system. And in the back, we have the speakers, both left and right, and then an amplifier hidden under the chair. So really happy with it. Yet again, you haven't seen much of me, guys, and I'm really sorry about that. I don't know what to do, to be honest. It's a tough one. I'm really, really busy at the shop at the moment, which I'm so grateful for, but it means I'm neglecting the fact of showing you how I'm doing stuff. Now, when I get a bit quieter, I will show you, like, how do I trim these? How do I make that? How do I CAD things? But for the moment, you just kind of bear with me, guys, because it is show season time. So we're doing all the show cars, we're getting all those sort of stuff prepped. So other end of the summer, the video should go back to a bit more sort of like showing you how things work and things. I can show you, well, I can show you everything, to be honest. I don't mind showing you any of the work that I do. So leave in the comments what sort of stuff you'd like to see as well. Whether you want to see jigsaw skills, whether you want to see how to run cabling, whether you want to see how to do the CAD work for the 3D printing. What else? And also,
I know Simon will like this one. Thank you so much for the people that watch, and I know Simon watches me sitting at home. I'm up on this massive TV screen. I love you, man, and obviously it was great to see you a few weeks back for your birthday. Hope you really enjoyed this video, mate, and to everyone else as well. Obviously the whole like and subscribe thing really helps me out. This car is a friend of the guy that I did previously, called Chris, who owns the Abarth. If you haven't seen that video, definitely have a look at that. That's a really cool, impressive Alpine status build. And there's loads more in the pipeline as always, guys. I'm not sure what the next one's going to be that I put up. I've got potentially a Supra coming back in for some more work. I think we're on like stage 8 of that. But there's a good reason why we need to do it, because he needs more volume, he needs more sort of musical side of things. So it'll be really good. So yeah, it's been really nice working on an old school car. Has been challenging. You find things on it that sort of are harder to take apart than other things. You've got to be very careful with these old cars, because you can't just call up Fiat and say, oh, can I have a new trim piece for that, for instance. So it has to be run really smoothly, really sort of carefully. But everything has gone to plan, thankfully. So I don't know whether in the back there we've got a little Vibe sub. I don't know whether the gentleman's going to get me to do the next build of it or the next part of the build. I don't know when that's going to be or anything else. But this car is going to be at the Max Power show on the 14th of July. So if you do see it and you like the setup and things, I haven't named my brand anywhere in this one, to be honest, which may be a mistake, but the initial impression was to do it when we do the big bit at the back, because up here, this is where the customer sits, this is where his area is. He doesn't need creative car sounds flashing in his face all the day. But hopefully, if we do the back bit, then obviously I'll logo it up and everything else. So, but no, it's been really fun. It's been good. I'm not really sure what else to say. Got to bed the speakers in, do a little bit of tuning work and whatnot, and then we are done and dusted. So anyway, guys, hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.